What if the key to unlocking your full potential was not about being more productive, but about being less comfortable? Can you handle that idea?
That's a really interesting point, and it makes me think about the secret to becoming a better version of yourself. Is it really about stepping out of your comfort zone?
Exactly, and that's what we're going to explore today. The idea that personal growth often requires us to break out of our shells and challenge ourselves in new ways, and I think most learners get this concept completely wrong.
Well, I think that's because we often focus on the end result, rather than the process, and we forget that growth is a journey, not a destination, and today we're going to discuss 3 key phrases that can help you on that journey.
That's right, and you'll learn how to apply them in your own life, including how to get out of your comfort zone, turn over a new leaf, and rise to the challenge, and I think you'll be surprised at how simple yet powerful these phrases can be.
And we'll also explore some common mistakes that people make when trying to implement these changes, so you can avoid those pitfalls and start seeing real progress.
So let's start with the idea of breaking out of your shell. What does that mean to you? And how can someone apply that in their everyday life?
Well, breaking out of your shell means being willing to take risks and try new things, even if they make you feel uncomfortable or uncertain, and a great example of this is public speaking. Many people are afraid of public speaking, but it's a great way to build confidence and self-expression.
That's a great example, and I think a common mistake people make is trying to do it all at once, instead of taking small steps, like starting with small groups or low-stakes presentations.
Here's the weird part: when you start to break out of your shell, you'll often find that you're capable of more than you thought, and that's when the real growth begins, and that's where the phrase "step up your game" comes in.
I love that phrase, and I think it's all about setting higher standards for yourself and being willing to put in the effort to achieve them, and a great example of this is setting specific, measurable goals, like running a marathon or learning a new language.
Exactly, and a common mistake people make is setting unrealistic goals, or not creating a clear plan to achieve them, which can lead to frustration and burnout.
Another key phrase is turn over a new leaf. What does that mean to you, and how can someone apply that in their life?
Well, turning over a new leaf means making a conscious decision to change your behavior or habits, and start fresh, and a great example of this is quitting a bad habit, like smoking or excessive screen time.
That's a great example, and I think a common mistake people make is trying to change too much at once, instead of focusing on one area at a time, and creating a support system to help them stay on track.
Here's the weird part: when you turn over a new leaf, you'll often find that it has a ripple effect, and can lead to positive changes in other areas of your life, and that's where the phrase "find your footing" comes in.
I love that phrase, and I think it's all about finding your balance and stability, and being able to navigate challenges with confidence, and a great example of this is learning to prioritize self-care, and make time for activities that bring you joy and fulfillment.
Exactly, and a common mistake people make is neglecting their own needs, and putting others first, which can lead to burnout and resentment.
Finally, let's talk about the phrase rise to the challenge. What does that mean to you, and how can someone apply that in their life?
Well, rising to the challenge means being willing to take on difficult tasks or situations, and viewing them as opportunities for growth, and a great example of this is taking on a new project at work, or pursuing a new hobby.
That's a great example, and I think a common mistake people make is being too afraid to fail, and not taking the risk, which can hold them back from achieving their full potential.
Here's the weird part: when you rise to the challenge, you'll often find that you're capable of more than you thought, and that's when the real growth begins, and that's where the phrase "work on yourself" comes in.
I love that phrase, and I think it's all about being willing to put in the effort to self-reflect, and make positive changes, and a great example of this is practicing mindfulness, or seeking out mentorship.
Exactly, and a common mistake people make is being too hard on themselves, and not being patient with their progress, which can lead to frustration and burnout.
Now, let me summarize some of these phrases in a mini-story. Imagine you're feeling stuck in your job, and you want to break out of your shell, so you start by taking on a new project, and as you work on it, you realize you need to step up your game, and set higher standards for yourself.
That's right, and as you make progress, you realize you need to turn over a new leaf, and change some of your habits, like procrastination, and then you find your footing and start to feel more confident, and finally, you rise to the challenge and take on an even bigger project.
Exactly, and today's challenge is to use one of these phrases in your own life, whether it's breaking out of your shell or rising to the challenge. Share with us in the comments how you plan to apply it.
If you enjoyed this conversation, subscribe for daily English practice, and join our community of learners who are committed to personal growth and self-improvement.
And tune in tomorrow, when we'll be discussing the topic of overcoming obstacles and exploring some key phrases that can help you navigate challenges with confidence, like think outside the box and take it with a grain of salt.